Alright guys, it's part 2 of the T-bucket hot rod build. In the first part I started all the steering, and since then I've been cutting all the pieces to make the subframe. It's not that interesting watching me cut loads of metal piece after piece, so you've missed that bit out. Doesn't matter, here it is, it's all ready for welding, and that's what I'm going to do today. But before I do that, I'm going to have a quick tidy up. Oh, look at that. Perfect. I wish it were that easy when I was a kid. Let's get making. Well guys, that's all tack welded up. Now what I've got to do is weld it up proper. So come back in a couple of seconds and you can see how I got on. Catch you later. Well guys, I think I've done alright today. I've welded all the frame up. It's really messy welding, but I'm no welder. Now what I'm going to do, last thing for today, is I'm going to cover the top with the car body under seal, and then tomorrow when it's dry I can flip it over and do the other side. That's it for me. After I've done that, I'm going having a beer. Catch you in a few minutes. Alright guys, well, since that last bit, just before the interval, I've lost a day. Why have I lost a day? Because yesterday was problem solving day. I built this frame, and the idea was to have, in between the frame and the wheel, the idea was to have a disc brake on one side and a drive chain on the other side. No problem. But what I wanted to do was to keep the drive chain and the disc brake inside the box that sits on the back of the T-bucket. I'll try and put a picture somewhere here and show you what box I mean. But I want the pieces hidden inside the box so nobody can trap the fingers, little kids poking around in it, etc, etc. Keeps the rain off, you name it. That's why I wanted to put it in the box. But if I put it inside the box, it meant, and in between the frame and the wheel, it meant that the box was too wide, which means the wheels would have to be wider, and then it's too wide for the length. So what I've got to do is come up with a way of getting this disc brake on the back axle, but inside the frame. But because it's 160mm diameter, it means that the frame has to sit higher up. So I've been solving problems. Anyway, I think I've got it. So I'm not going to go into all that now. I think I've got it. I'll show you what I did. So the next problem I had was, how am I going to attach this disc brake to that back axle? Now, if I had proper tools like a lathe and a pillar drill, well, I've got a little pillar drill, but anyway, if I had a proper tool like a lathe, I could have made myself some sort of adapter that looked something like this. But instead, I've had to buy a piece of metal. I've tried to drill a hole in the middle, 20mm, so it'll fit on the back axle. And what I've got to do now is centre that on this disc, maybe tack weld it into place and then drill some holes, put bolts through and slide this onto the back axle. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to do, just have to see what happens. And then I've got to do the same with the drive chain. So let's get on with it. Well, I've managed to do it. I've put a disc on the back, I welded that on, and then I drilled 6 holes, put some pins through and locked them in position, welded them in position, and then I painted some of that magic cover your bad welding all over it. So now what I've got to do is get them front wheels on and get the rest of that steering bars sorted out, and then hopefully if my bearings turn up we'll have a rolling chassis like I said in part 1. Well, I don't know until they turn up, so that's it for now. Let's get on with that, but that'll be tomorrow. Catch you later, guys. Well guys, my bearings did turn up tomorrow like I said, but that was yesterday. So why don't I seem really happy? Well, the reason is because although my bearings turned up, and fair play, I asked for 20mm, they gave me 20mm. I asked for a 20mm bar and he gave me a 20mm bar. But the 20mm bar is actually 20.2 because it's not, I don't know what this finish is called. It's just like a rough finish and they don't fit. So I wasted too much time. I only get about an hour a day to work on this thing, about an hour and a half. So I wasted most of that yesterday trying to get this. I haven't got a lathe, so I tried doing it by hand and all sorts of stuff. I still can't get this on. So that was another day wasted. But it's not all bad news, because I went to the shop today and I bought myself a 20mm threaded bar. And even better news, I got myself some M20 nuts and I'm able to fix this disc brake on. Okay, it's not locked in position yet because I've not got the exact position, but I fitted it on and it's absolutely brilliant. It spins perfectly true. It doesn't wobble up and down. It's fantastic. So now I can fix these bearings to the frame. Then I can fix my back axle on. Then I can put my front wheels on, and just like I said, I'm actually going to get a rolling chassis before the end of part 2. So it's not all bad, is it? Let's get making! In part 1, I said I wanted a rolling chassis by the end of part 2. And here it is. It rolls. And not only that, it steers. Okay, so there's no steering column at the moment, but I can't fit that because there's a whole chain reaction of events just to get that fitted. Starts off with fitting the floor. Once the floor's in, I can fit this box on the back. Once the box is on the back, that'll determine how wide the seats are going to be. And once I know how wide the seats are going to be, I'll know where the steering wheel's got to be positioned, and only then can I fit the steering column. So if you don't want to miss it, subscribe to my channel and then come back and watch part 3 and see how I got on. Catch you next time, guys. In the first part, what did I do? But before I do that, I'm going to have a quick tidy up. Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. Oh no, it's not tidy yet, is it? I've got to film that bit after. Get it?